It's that time again. Time for the Steam Winter Sale. Hello and welcome to Filling in the Gaps. I'm Justin, and it's just me. For those of you that have listened to our pick videos before, well, it's going to be much the same. Darren and I, this time I believe that we're going to be talking about 2 or maybe 3 just because of the way things have gone this year and what's coming up, that we will be talking about the same, but for the most part, we will be varying off into very different picks. I've grouped my sections into, I believe it's about 4 sections, let's say. The first section are ones that cost a little bit more. Some will be much more, roughly $60 down to $10 range. I also have a section, as I normally do, for our upcoming episodes, things you might want to purchase now so that you will play ahead of the time that we're going to be talking about them. Right towards the end, there'll be a bargain basement section, $5 and under, and right at the tail end, as always, there will be my free section. First up, let's get into the more expensive games. Now, they're not really in any order except just the order I want to talk about them. And the one I put first is definitely one that I know Darren is going to talk about as well. That is Inscryption. Inscryption is a card game at first, but then you realize it also has escape room elements and then a story that at first doesn't seem to be there, but then develops very much like Pony Island, same developer. A fantastic game that I just couldn't put down. I was obsessed with this game for days, and I don't regret it at all. I love the way the game looks. I love most of the things about the way the game plays. You're going to find out as we talk about it in a future episode that there are a few things I would like to change, but they're very minor. Already, the developer has given some bonus content, a new mode of play for, I believe, once you've already beaten the game. It's just a lot of fun, and there are all sorts of secrets, tricks that Darren and I have talked about, and we know that there's still probably much more to the game than we've even discovered so far. So, Inscryption, a game I've been putting off a second playthrough, and as soon as I have some guilt-free time again, I'm probably going to jump back in. And if you know me, you know that really says something. I've already played it this year, and I want to play it again. It's worth it at $20. The $20 base price would already cover our $1 per hour metric, at least it would for me. But it does often go on sale for $16, and I'm expecting it to do that again this winter. My second pick is a bit of a dark horse, probably won't go on sale, but I'm hoping it will. That is Amnesia Fortnite, the whole box. Each one of the Amnesia Fortnites on Steam, I believe there are 3 of them, tend to go for about $10. But the whole box puts all 3 together for just over that. I think it's about $10.50 at historic low. Amnesia Fortnite is basically a time where Double Fine Productions takes 2 weeks where they stop working at whatever they're doing, give themselves a break, like a mental break from all the stress of what they are working on at the moment, do an in-house game jam, and it's a lot of fun. You basically get to watch the teams from the pitching stage to the ones that get chosen to them actually working together in their teams to create these basically demo games. They want something that is playable at the end, and they do it all in 2 weeks. You get the documentary, which you would be able to see on YouTube anyway, so if you don't want to purchase it, at least watch that. I think that it's a great thing to get to see developers in action, to see the frustrations, the successes, the highs, the lows, and the teamwork that goes into developing a game, even of this caliber, but also seeing how they manipulate the system by using assets they already have. It's just a really great experience for me to have been able to watch them. And then if you purchase these on Steam, the thing is you'll also get the demos. So when you watch the documentary, you also get to play the finished product. And that is what really brings it all together for me. It has been a really interesting experience, and it's really made a lasting impression on me. Along with that would be the Double Fine Adventure, which I've mentioned in our most recent episode of the podcast where we talked about Broken Age. One or maybe even two of the Amnesia Fortnights happened kind of within that time. So I watched chronologically, but you don't have to. Watch it how you want. Along with that, because they are developers that I trust, that have put out so much that I enjoyed, well, I'm going to recommend Psychonauts 2. It's newer. It's $60 at base. Lowest so far has been $39. I would love to see it hit the 50%. Don't know if it's going to happen, but it would be great if it did. I really enjoyed Psychonauts. We played it for an episode of the podcast. I enjoyed it. It was a little clunky. I mean, it's older. I would love to see what they do with that kind of world in a more recent time with better experience, better tech. I think Psychonauts 2 is going to be great, and I look forward to playing it, just not $60. So I don't know if I'm going to go for it this time, but it's been wishlisted since before it released. I will be getting it at some point. Next up is an interesting one. This one is God of War. $50 normally, has gone down, at least on Fanatical, it's currently at just under $44. This game isn't even out yet. I wouldn't normally recommend the game that isn't already out yet, but this game is out just for console. The reason I really want to push God of War, and if you know me, you know I'm too cheap and I won't be buying it at this time, but I really do want to recommend it to other people. I didn't have a PS4, I couldn't play this game, I want to play this game, and I want to play others. And I think the biggest thing about God of War coming to Steam is it makes me hopeful that other console exclusives might be on their way. I am hoping that if God of War does well, then maybe some of the other Sony PlayStation exclusives might start finding their way into the Steam store, which could make me very happy. It was the first of the PlayStation line I didn't own. Just the thought of maybe now I can play those on PC make me very happy. Next is another big game. This one is Horizon Zero Dawn. It's about $50 at base. It has gone for 50% off on Steam at $25. In fact, that's pretty much what it's at now. Though it does look like Fanatical has it currently at 58% off, which is $21. So what I would say is this game, I haven't played it, but I've had it on very good authority that it is a very good open world game. And though I've been kind of hesitant to get into one of those again, it's only a matter of time. And this one does look very good. So will I get into this one this year? Possibly. I have to admit, I'm very, very tempted. And anywhere in the $20 range for something that's going to be this big is probably going to be pretty good. So hopefully it'll drop to the same on Steam, but if not, check it out on Fanatical. Next on my list is a new game called Deathloop. It is $60 at base. I just love the idea of this game. If you've listened to some of our other episodes, you know that I love Sexy Brutale. It was a time loop game. You had to keep playing the loops to figure out the mysteries, to figure out the puzzles, like how do I get this item from this person. I love this kind of game. So any sort of loop time game is going to be very tempting. Deathloop is a first-person shooter where you could possibly have someone jump into your game and try to take you out. You also can, I guess, just make that assassin an AI instead. But there's just so much about this game that sounds amazing. And it may not be everything I want it to be, but the idea of a first-person shooter that is in a time loop of some sort, I think I'm going to be pretty interested. And honestly, the only thing that is really holding me back at the moment from wanting to get into Deathloop right away is I know this studio, and invariably they're going to have DLC, and they're going to have a Game of the Year edition or something, some sort of collected everything. I'm going to get into Deathloop, and then I'm going to like it, I'm going to want to get the DLC, so that's really the only thing that's holding me back. I've seen some of the negative reviews. They don't really hold me back. And in fact, right now, it is at a pretty historic low already of just under $20 at Humble. So if you're interested in getting it for just under $20 is your thing, well, check out Humble Bundle if Steam has let us down. Next up is Battlezone Gold Edition. This game, I can't speak for it being really good. I haven't played it. I don't know. All I know is that for a very long time, I was looking for this futuristic tank game that I remember playing in the arcade. The one I played was in a cabinet. You could sit down. The speakers are right behind your head, blasting you with music. It was the closest thing to VR before VR became a real thing. It felt amazing at the time. I loved the controls. With dual stick joysticks on my controller, I think it could have a similar feel. It won't be quite as good. I know it won't. And this is an updated version, but the thing about this one is it does have classic arcade in it. And it has hit a point since it's a few years old that though it is normally $35 at base, it's right now at just over $8 on Fanatical, and that's pretty tempting. Hopefully the Steam sale would bring it just a little bit lower, but time will tell. Nier Automata. This is one that I think that I have mentioned in a pick video before. It's definitely one that I am interested in. It is a combination JRPG and hack slash that is just highly rated, and every image on the Steam store page looks beautiful. It's probably going to take ages to play. It is a Square Enix game. I'll probably have to do some grinding, but honestly, maybe that's what I'm in the mood for. It is $40. Historic low is typically half off at $20. It's Square Enix though, and that is so typical of all their Final Fantasy games. They go for 50% off quite often, but that's as low as you're going to go. So I really just don't see the Game of the Year edition going for much lower than 20 for a long time. So it might just be time to pull that trigger. For the next section, I'm just going to quickly mention some of the games we have coming up for the podcast. First up is Superliminal. It's $20 at base, but is often gone for $10. In fact, that's the low currently on Microsoft, Good Old Games, and Green Man Gaming. So if that's the deal you're looking for and Steam doesn't come through with that 50% off, well, you know where to go. Superliminal is a fantastic puzzle game that uses perspective as its puzzle. It's a lot of fun. It's quirky. There are some bits in it that just really make me laugh. That's going to be one of the earliest episodes we have coming out next year. Also, What Remains of Edith Finch, a game that Darren had been pleading for me to play for a very, very long time. $20 at base, but often goes as low as $6. In fact, right now, if you want to look at Indie Gala, it's at $5, which is lower than the historic Steam. I think Steam will probably be $6 again, so Indie Gala may be the way to go this time. What Remains of Edith Finch is basically an exploration game, exploring a family's history in one of the craziest houses you'll ever be in. At least one that seems like it could be in the real world, sort of. You'll understand when you play. The Lion Song. I know I talked about The Lion Song in the last big video. The thing is, due to scheduling and some other things that happened, we bumped The Lion Song back, so that's actually going to be coming out early next year. Do make sure you get the full collection, or what I believe is called the Season Pass, because that's all the chapters. It is one of those games that is in many chapters. You can play, I believe, still the first chapter for free. Maybe that's something you might want to do before you buy the full thing. It is an homage to so many of the games that we loved before, tries to connect all the stories in an interesting way with a very good idea of its own aesthetic and what it's doing. At $4, which is the historic low, it's pretty much worth it. You're paying a little bit less than $1 per chapter. We will be playing Inscryption, just throwing that out there. Don't forget, we will be, well, I say that. We've already recorded the episode. We've already played it. We've already recorded it. But that episode will be coming out early next year. So if you want to play Inscryption before you hear it, that's one more plug for Justin's Game of the Year. And the next game I would talk about is Myst. I am going to attempt to play the classic, or I believe what's called the Masterpiece Edition. It's a $6 game that will probably go on sale for like $1.20. I think it may have some issues because the game is so old, and I may end up giving in, and getting one of the newer versions. I don't think I would get the most recent one, which of course is the one I'm sure Darren is going to recommend, but there is an in-between. I'm going to try the really old one. You don't have to. I want to see the classic game because that's the one I played first, and I really want to go back to that and experience it the way it was originally until I lose my patience. We'll see. All right, next section. Cheap section, $5 and under. Guaranteed $5 and under, because if they don't do that for Steam, they are doing that elsewhere, and I will tell you where. So first up, I want to talk about Disney Afternoon Collection. The Disney Afternoon Collection put 6 games together. You've got DuckTales 1 and 2, Chippendales Rescue Rangers 1 and 2, Darkwing Duck, and TaleSpin. TaleSpin, I don't know if I like the look of that one, but what they've done is they've given you 6 games for $20, or historic low, down to about $4.39 on Fanatical currently. You can get it probably for about $5 would be my guess on the Steam sale, but if you want to save a bit more, $4.39 on Fanatical. Also, while I am in my retro vintage nostalgia mode, let me also talk about the Contra Anniversary Collection. It is a few games, well, I say a few, I think it's about 6 games of the old Contra variety, the one with, as I believe, the original Konami code. I don't know if I'll really play these all the way through, but I am very tempted to give them another go. Especially given that, as I said, it's a number of games for $20, or it can get as low as $5. That's what I'm hoping for with the Steam sale. There is one place where it's a bit under $5. That is a site I haven't used before called GameBillet. And in fact, they're probably worth checking out. A lot of the games I'm talking about now, they are on sale there as well. A game that I have played before is My Memory of Us, a game narrated by Patrick Stewart. It is a bit point and click, it is a bit puzzle, it feels like an old school game but looks different. It has a beautiful look dealing with black and white with just splashes of color like red. It tells a really interesting story. It is well worth playing. I think this is especially true given the price. It is $18 at base, which already is not bad, but it will go as low as $3.60. It's done that before on Steam, but if it doesn't, Good Old Games has you covered. It is $3.60 there currently. Next up is a game called Back to Bed, a puzzle game where you are trying to guide someone back to bed without them waking or being hurt. This is a game that Darren has recommended to me. I haven't played it yet. I definitely want to. It is $6 at base, but it can go quite cheap. In fact, it is currently about 53 cents at Fanatical. And for that, I'm willing to try any game for 50 cents. So this one that Darren has recommended to me, I have no qualms recommending to you for 53 cents. The last one for this section is a game called Chromagun. Chromagun looks similar to the idea of Portal or Cube, QUBE, that we've played before. In this one, you have a gun that shoots different colors. You have to mix the colors in order to solve puzzles and move on. It looks very interesting. At $13, that's not bad, but it will drop as low as roughly $2. In fact, it is $2.20 at Fanatical at the moment, or $1.94 at Indie-Gala. The last section, as always for my picks, I try to have a few freebies for you, whether funds are low or you just want a bit more fun than you can afford. Well, here you go. First up is Portal Reloaded. You've probably already played it. we discussed it for the podcast. It's only free if you have Portal 2. You need to have the base game to install Portal Reloaded, which is a mod. But it is a fun mod. It is so great. It feels like an extended section. It feels like DLC that could be added to the game. It's definitely worth playing. It was a lot of fun. Frustrating, but a lot of fun. The plan. The plan is not so much a game as a very brief experience. You are a fly, and you have to fly around and get to the end goal, and there are a few surprises along the way. They're not huge, but it's free, it's fun, and it's one of those just short experiences worth giving a try. Next up is a game that's very ridiculous, and that's exactly why I want to recommend it. It is called Max Gentleman. It is, as all the games in this section are, it is a free game. This one is about stacking hats. So I know I've talked about Alpaca Stacker before. Well, here is Hat Stacker. You have two basic modes that you can play for free. One is riding along on a bicycle and trying to make your hat jump to collect more hats to stack on top, while trying to avoid the birds that will knock them off. You also have a competitive version where you're in a pub, and every drink you get down before your opponent, you get to have another hat, but there are all sorts of things flying around the room, and so again, you need to make your hat jump to avoid those. It's very silly, but it's kind of fun. The last one I'm going to recommend came from someone who's watching Darren's stream the other night, and that is a game called Flicker of Hope. Now, it's not perfect. There are a few areas where the controls maybe don't work as well as they ought to, but the look of the game, my goodness, is it really beautiful and just really well done. And it's a great concept that I would love to see added a bit more to. It is very much in the vein of Little Nightmares. So if you love Little Nightmares, or even I would say into Limbo, but very much Little Nightmares, give Flicker of Hope a try. It's definitely worth checking out. And that's my picks. Those are my picks for the 2021 winter sale. In the show notes, you will find a list of links to all of the games that I have talked about. You'll find a link to Darren's picks, and you will also find a link to another set of picks by longtime listener and strong supporter of the podcast, Crimson Albedo. As always, he's got a few games that I've heard of and a number of games I haven't. I highly recommend you check that out. And with that, well, I guess it's time for me to go. Happy shopping.